because he's
Okay, we're ready to go.
Go ahead.
Good evening. The Charter Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 will come to order. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Stewart.
Here.
Trustee Monahan.
Here.
Trustee Kermy.
Here.
Trustee Buckley.
Here.
Clerk Vorba here. Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Here.
Supervisor Heisey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance, how about Fire Chief Pat Conley?
Pledge
allegiance
To the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item C is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, July 12th, 2022.
Motion by Clerk Vorba, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Monahan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Approval of the consent agenda. Item D, comments, questions?
I have a question on the fire report, the mutual aid section. Northville Township is at 9. Will you be willing to work with them and try to get that number down? I know they have a very expensive transport model, but I don't think we should be subsidizing it. They're richer than we are. But tell us about that. These are all transports, I think, right?
Yeah, it should be all transport. I believe we had a couple firestorm. I don't have it in front of me. I know we did go out there. I believe we went out there recently for a couple fires.
You have an automatic mutual aid with them, or they have to call you specially? Okay.
So they'll call us, they'll call Logan for ambulances. If it's a fire, they'll call NOVI, or they'll call Logan, they'll call us.
All right, please sensitize them to it. I mean, better judgment or whatever they're using, not dump on us.
Okay.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, July 12th, 2022.
Motion is made by Clerk Vorba, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Monahan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Public comment limited to 3 minutes. Anyone on the public comment agenda? Hearing none, I'm going to move on to item F, new business, annual water and sewer rate recommendation. Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. You have a handout, which is the slides that are in the presentation, and I'm going to take you through this analysis as well as the recommendation. Hopefully answer any questions you may have. I worked with Patrick and Ginger to work through these numbers, and I'll get to them in a minute here. So the recommendation is to increase water and sewer rates by 1%. The question out there for the board would be whether 1% is enough. I think it is, and I'll explain why. When the budget was set for 2022, it was set at the assumption that the rates would go up by 3%, but we still have enough cushion in there, and I'll explain that in a
I
minute.
mean, what rates? Great Lakes would go up by 3?
No, that we would raise water and sewer rates July 1st. That was put into the 2022 budget.
At 3 is the assumption.
At 3. So that would make the rates effective from August 1st through June 30th. Just some facts that the cost per gallon is about a penny, 1.03 cents. So according to the American Institute of Baths and Showers, that would be about 20 cents for a shower for adult, or about $27 for one for a teenager.
Yeah. Teenagers.
Wait a minute here. Our sons take longer showers.
But this would be the first increase since October 2020. Let me go on to the next one. Just by way of background, the objective of the water and sewer charges are to cover really 3 categories of costs. First is the operating cost, the cost for water that's charged to us by the Great Lakes Water Authority. Second is the WATUA costs for sewerage and long-term capital investments. And then third is the overhead, which would include salaries. There's some other costs, line item costs within that. The second category is to pay off debt and capital. There's something that should be noted, which was in 2012, we made an investment in WATUA, in which bonds were issued, and our payment on the bonds was roughly $1.4 million per year. We'll make the last payment in December of this year, and then that bonds will be paid off, so that line item that you'll see in the analysis will come out of there. But the big question is, how much money should you have set aside for future infrastructure requirements? Right now, we have about $17 million in net assets, of which about $14 million of that is in free cash. The question is, how much do you need and when do you need it? That's the art form. Some of the things that infrastructure requirements would include water mains, in which that may be as much as $1 million per half mile of water main, in addition to the extent of the disruption that would cause. There's kind of a run rate on the SAW grants, and I think Patrick understands that better than I do, for the sewer linings, that we've been doing on an annual basis. And then the water towers have life cycle maintenance every 7 to 15 years, have something that needs to be done to them. So that's the question, is how much money is enough money to have set aside for the long-term infrastructure requirements. So Great Lakes Water Authority, as they do every year, they raise their rates. So effective August 1st, they're raising their rates to what you'll see on one of the other charts, what will end up as a total blended cost of $3.99 per 1,000 gallons, which is 0.0339 cents per gallon.
What is that in terms of a percentage increase? Because they always promised that they would keep it under 4%.
It's 3.3.
Okay.
So their costs, the thing about the GLWA structure is that it's based, there's a 60% of the charge is fixed and 40% is variable based on usage. And they make an assumption that we're going to use X amount of gallons. I don't know if they have a crystal ball, because it depends on the weather and it depends on a lot of factors. But you can see over time the trends for that tend to be fairly flat. But the challenge is that the more water you use, the less it costs per gallon of water, because you're spreading the fixed cost over a larger number. So if we don't use what they are projecting us to use, or we don't sell what they're projecting us to sell, then our variable cost would rise, and I got a chart on that. So they estimated, they have a series of formulas, and I don't know, they pulled numbers out of somewhere. They estimated that we would use about 1.2 billion, 1.2 thousand gallons, million gallons, 1.2 million thousands.
Million.
Yeah, a lot. We're going to use a lot of water.
So what is that, 1,204,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, 440.
Yeah, but that's my number, but that seems low.
Yeah, it does. Oh.
It seems like I'm missing a decimal point.
Yeah.
Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Bunch of water.
It's just water. It's water under the bridge.
You got me.
So this is the historical, to answer your question, Kurt, in
Yeah,
the lower
thanks.
right-hand corner, the 3.3% change. So the fixed cost in the upper right-hand corner, we go from 234,000 per month to 240,000, which is what we pay if we use no water. It's a fixed cost spread across the communities. There's a variable cost per 1,000 gallons, and that blends out to $3.99.9 per 1,000 gallons. But compounded over the 6 years in which I carried this analysis through, the compounded growth was 18.66%. So we're paying 20% more for water than we were in 2017. Yeah, that's what I say. It's wow. I put this in here. I thought it might be helpful because, frankly, I personally never really looked at water bills that closely. And, but you'll see the water bill, there's an old system, it's a postcard system. There's been some discussion about updating that, but I haven't even really looked into what that would take. But there's common codes like that appear on the water bill. In this particular example, the water charge was $46.56. The sewage was $38.32. The trash pickup was $47.25. The Watua surcharge was $15.69, and there's a service charge of $5.40, which they call a meter charge. So what we'll see is we'll see the $15.69 drop off of that. Sorry about this eye chart here. I will send out the back. I think I sent you all a PDF of this, but I'll send out the backup to this.
So Bob, future Watua charges will not show up on that bill, or will they just be baked into the water rates?
Do these future charges, Patrick? I asked myself that question about an hour ago, and I didn't.
Is that just for the bond, or?
Hang on.
So that Watua for $15.69.
Goes away.
Does that go away, or does?
December.
Because we still have Watua costs to pay. We still have to run the operation.
But I thought that was a surcharge, isn't it?
Or is that the bond that expires next year?
Do you know the answer to that question, Patrick? Yeah, I think that's a Watua charge, and
No, wait a minute, I thought that was for the treatment plant. Correct. Treatment plant expansion that we paid for.
It does say a surcharge.
There's always been a Watua charge, but it went way up when we expanded the plant
back
in
12.
the Ypsilanti plant. Oh, no, it was way before 12. It was probably in about 2003 or 4 is the initial one. 2012 was probably a refinance of the bonds because interest rates were lower, but that expansion went on in 2003 or was completed in somewhere between 3 and 5.
So let me get back to you guys on that question, make sure that I give you the right answer, and Patrick and I'll talk it over tomorrow.
Well, the service charge, the 5.4,
That stays.
right, it stays, but where's that money going?
That goes into the top line revenue number.
What does that mean?
So when you look at this chart, see if you can see it on here.
So it's like a meter reading charge?
Yeah, they call it a meter charge. So the top line, over on the right-hand side, if you kind of scroll through these sources of revenue, the water charges are $6.72 million. So that would be based on this assumption of volume times the proposed water rate new rate would come out to 6.72 million. Sewer charges are 5.12. This 1.472 million, this is that the meter charge, capital and meter charges. So that's where that goes. It's top line revenue. It's
Big
revenue.
ten.
Yeah.
Okay,
Took
the benefit-
$5, if you took $5.40 a month times 13, that'd be 65 times 12 is 1.472.
Does that change with the meter diameter? I mean, the diameter of the water service? So a 1 inch would pay the same or more? I think it was more, but I'm not certain.
For the maintenance?
No, the 540, if you had a 1 inch water line, which many of the newer houses with sprinkling systems have.
Correct, based on service charge.
So
Service size.
so that would be greater for a 1 inch, because that 540 is a 5/8 inch.
Yes. It could be more for the size.
All right. So it's variable with size. Okay.
Correct, and that's in the fee schedule.
So what this chart is telling you what the telling us what the operating costs we need to recover from the rates are. So this first section in here are sources of revenue, which includes the water, sale of water, the sewer charges, what to a capital meter charges we just discussed, benefit fees, and then some miscellaneous other stuff that kind of comes in. And you can see there's a kind of a trend run rate on this that extends over the 5-year period of time. The second section is the operating expenses. So the cost of the water. We would be paying 4.8 million for the water and selling it for 6.72 under this model. Cost of the sewerage, salaries and fringe benefits, miscellaneous, and then there's some other things, the principal and interest on the WTUA debt, the long-term capital improvement plan, some short-term capital improvement, interest on the debt, and then the big charge of this is depreciation, which is, on the books. It's not an actual cash flow
Right.
calculation. So basically, the short version of this story is that if we raise the water rates 1% to 588 for water and sewer to 454, the projection is that we would have a surplus of about 254,000. So we would about break even. And that's the question for the board. Let me skip ahead to 2 slides, because the next slide was just usage scenarios, and this is just backup information. So on this one, this is probably the most important slide to get your head around, if you will. So if you look from 2016 to 21, in 16 we had, and these numbers come right out of the audit, we had 8.9 million in current assets, and the net position is the value of everything, right?
That has depreciation.
Yeah, the value of all the infrastructure, our investments in WTUA, all of that stuff. What is the value of all the assets that we own? And then as we moved forward into 17, that number grew. It grew in 18. It grew in 19 to 17 million, and then it's been flat 19, 20, and 21. If we keep it at 1% for 22, and those assumptions prove to be true, then we would be flat. We'd still have 17 million and change, maybe just over 18 million. Of that, about 14 million is free cash that's spendable.
Okay.
So the question comes into, do we need to, if at 1%, we would, we'll maintain a very healthy fund balance. If we went more than 1%, then we would continue to grow that fund balance. And the question is, do we need to? Which is,
We're actually taking money out of fund balance right now to achieve the 1%?
no,
Nor
we
not.
would break
No.
even.
Okay.
About 200 over, 200,
Yeah.
about a quarter of a million.
Yeah, there's not an exact science, so you're going to say that
Yeah,
it's.
about.
Yeah, so the other thing that I opened this with is that in the budget for this year, it was assumed that we would raise the rates by 3% July 1st. If we raise them by 1%, the impact on that is going to be about $100,000 off of what was expected to be surplus.
Okay.
So it still keeps us in the black, just less in the black.
Got it.
How much money is currently loaned out from the water and sewer fund to other township projects?
I don't have that in front of me.
Are some of them SADs?
Yeah, that was, I'm not really sure. Let me get back to you on that.
Patrick, I think it's only SADs. There's nothing else. There's nothing else out there.
Do we invest that money?
It's in, yeah, it's.
Hold on.
Sorry, Patrick.
Will you come up there, please, so we can hear what you said? What was the question about? Whether we had loans, right? You were saying something about.
Loans? No,
Yeah.
I know there's some shared expenses, but loans?
Are we loaning
I'm aware
anything
of.
on any SAD projects right now? Like Litchfield or?
I don't believe there's any active SADs, but that's a good question.
Well, I think we have active SADs that we're still collecting on SADs. Litchfield is one. I'm sure there's at least another one.
Well, there were many before. I don't know what the status of their,
Well, we don't have as many SADs
Is
because,
that what
yeah, but
you're-
that doesn't mean they're not, that, you don't know if they're paid off or not.
well, it'd be happening over the last 5 years. I mean, I can think of two that might be still active.
I think
I think you have
the
10
number is-
years
and
to
it's
pay.
Probably, it's in my office right now, but I don't feel like going to get it. I think it's around 2 million, but let me verify
Okay, so
that.
it's a reasonable number. Do you think that we're going to need to loan for SADs upcoming in the next year?
In 2023, I don't know of anybody who is even considering an SAD at this point. They're increasingly expensive. Obviously, materials are very expensive, and the fact that Wayne County will no longer provide the local match has been another big deterrent. So I can never say never, but I would seriously doubt that there will be any SADs in 2023.
Because we have to be a little careful if we could get a little bit of a, you and I talked about this, I think, an interest rate squeeze, because if interest rates skyrocketed, we would be charging less than the market cost of the money.
Yeah, let me go
So
back
that's
to.
a risk.
I didn't answer Audrey's question. Let me go back to that if I could. So there's $8 million that are sitting in a Comerica account. And previously, it was not interest bearing, because you can either, in these accounts, either you get interest or you pay bank fees, one or the other. And previously, the decision was made to not get interest, but in exchange, not have any bank fees on it, right? Because when interest rates are low, it was the right decision. But in an email that I sent you all a few weeks back, what that was all about was shifting that over into an account that was interest bearing, because as interest rates rise, now it makes more sense to pay the bank fees and take the interest on that. As far as like investing in other instruments, what has to happen is the board has to approve an investment policy if there's ever any interest in doing things like mutual funds, stuff like that. It's always sort of been a conservative approach to not gamble with the water and sewer money, but, take conservative approaches to it. But we can open it to the discussion. It's not my decision solely. It's a board decision.
I'm also a big believer in having a robust fund balance in water and sewer, because things break. And even though we are a relatively young community compared to some of our other neighbors to the east, we do have unexpected breaks that occur that need to be fixed immediately. And typically they happen at a bad time, and you don't have time to go out for bids or anything like that. We have selected vendors that we have bid out for in the past, but you want to make sure that you don't run out of money and that you have the funds that you need to handle emergencies, and also just regular capital improvement projects. I mean, Patrick has a capital improvement plan that is, I believe it's also, Patrick, authorized by the state of Michigan, because we have to demonstrate that we are always upgrading our system. We fortunately do not have a lot of the lead line issues that other communities have, but we do have some homes, we think, with lead lines that the state is mandating that we replace. And also we have to show that we have a very consistent capital improvement plan, fixing pipes, relining pipes, replacing pipes. We have water main breaks every year that come up that we obviously have to address. But if you don't do that, you're going to pay the price at some point down the road. And I've seen that time and again and throughout Wayne County. And I just want to make sure that we never get caught in those traps, that we are always, every year, investing, replacing more and more to keep the system consistent and safe.
So where is the residential cross connect And how big is that annual expense? The new residential one? It was gonna be 100,000, but I don't know over how many years or whatever, I don't remember.
That would be
Hydro is
part
doing
of-
the work?
Yeah.
Correct.
HydroCorp.
It's in the budget
Yeah, it's
for
in-
this year.
It's in the rates then too?
It's in
It was in the approved
purchase of
budget.
capital assets, I think it's on that line. Or maybe under miscellaneous, it's under miscellaneous, professional service, Michigan repair.
Yeah, it wouldn't be under assets because it's a
Right, it's under
service.
operating expenses.
So you're confident you got that accounted for?
If it was accounted for this year, it's accounted for next year. Was it accounted for, Patrick?
Yes.
Yes.
It was a,
And we'll also have that discussion in a few months when we start on the water and sewer budget.
Just when you get a chance, send us an email, tell us how much that number is that you've assumed for 2021 or 2022 for Cross Connect program.
Sure.
Yeah, we awarded a contract with HydroCorp. So it was like a 3-year contract. We have an annual amount that was awarded. So that's
Did that late last year?
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, so that's a fixed number. We pay them a fixed amount each month, HydroCorp. So that's readily available, that
Okay.
that amount.
But what's your confidence that the usage rate is good for the next year? The number of gallons, based on a 5-year average or
High
whatever?
confidence.
I don't know.
5-year
I don't
average?
know.
Well, I don't know, what,
Well,
are we greater or less the assumption than 5-year average? I know it's weather
If you look at
dependent.
if you look at these were the actuals. What I did do is I compared, we had some missing data because of issues. But if you look at this 5-year trend, 1.2, 1.1, 1.3, 1.2, 1.2, it's pretty flat. There was significant more usage in 2020 to 21, presumably because people were at home. But from a sewerage standpoint, there was not that much of a difference because basically businesses offset, people weren't at businesses, but they were at home. So Watua said there wasn't, that much of a difference.
Patrick, is Watua charging us by metering the sewer?
correct.
All right, so they are actually metering.
Yes.
And Watua will be here at our next board meeting to present their budget for the upcoming year as well.
So-
And Bob sits on that committee as part of their finance, he's our representative to their finance committee, so.
So, long story short now, does the board support a 1% increase?
It makes it less of a pinch during
Yes.
high inflation, but
Yes.
we're gonna have to look, that's so the residents will have potentially less outlay, but we're gonna have to look at it close next year.
And some of the usage may go down with people pinching pennies to begin with, so.
Yeah.
Right, and I think you showed, what, 5 years up there of data that kind of reflects where we're at.
Yeah, 5 years of data.
I think that's fairly confident that it might be okay.
Yeah. I mean, we had 1 year, long time ago, when they were rebuilding M14, where we used an incredible amount of water because of, the construction issue, but there's no reason it should be, it's not going to be 20% higher or 20% lower. It might be a few percentage and swing depending on weather. How much do people water their lawns? Depends on how much it rains.
Great Lakes is still using the peak hour, peak day calculation?
They are, yes.
Okay. Have we had it yet, in your opinion, for this year?
I think we've got some good candidate days, but it's weather dependent, so.
Also, the Highland Park fee that the GLWA has been charging all the communities, for us, it amounts to $15,500. That's the good news. But we have still sequestered that money. It is in with Ginger and Bob have put it off to the side. We have not paid that $15,500 yet. GLWA says that they will stop charging that fee starting next year. We'll trust but verify, and we'll wait and see, make sure if that really happens or not. And if it does, then we'll have to make a policy decision on whether or not we'll reimburse them for that $15,500. I think we need to see, I know as far as the Conference of Western Wayne and others in Macomb County are concerned, I think they want to see a greater commitment that will be reimbursed for these Highland Park charges, which overall for us, going back to 2017, 2015, and possibly going forward a couple of years, for us it's about $185,000 hit over like a 12-year period. Other communities, Dearborn, Livonia, especially those communities that are tied directly to the Detroit system, sewer system, are paying in the millions of dollars. So, and I know that they're looking, some of those communities are looking at further legal action that we'd be happy to to jump on if needed. So anyway, we'll talk more about that, I think, in the future once we have some more direction from GLWA on what's going on with the Highland Park litigation.
So you want a motion?
Sure.
Yes. All right, so we'll go with the 1% is what this reads, right?
All right, ready?
I move to approve Resolution 2022-07-12-41, effective August 1, 2022, to revise the Plymouth Township comprehensive fee schedule to reflect a 1% water and sewer rate increase. The new water consumption rate will be 5.88 per 1,000 gallons, and the new sewer disposal rate will be 4.84 per 1,000 gallons.
Okay, motion's made by trustee Kermy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Monahan. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Supervisor Heisey?
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz?
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Buckley?
Yes.
Trustee Kermy?
Yes.
Trustee Monahan?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, you, Pat. Thank you, Bob. For your first time out on this, you did very well.
That's right. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, item F2 is the proposal for technology upgrades to the multipurpose room. The multipurpose room is the room right down the hall and to the left that connects us up with the police station. It has not received, I don't believe, any major technology upgrades since 2006 when the building was first created. We have been spending, you may recall a couple of years ago, one of our board priorities in the wake of COVID was to improve our connectivity, to be able to have more remote meetings, to have more telecommunication interaction between staff and people in the, consultants or applicants or others. Patrick left his keys, I think, under the chair.
He'll be back.
Won't be going far.
Yeah, okay. Come on, spring into action here, gentlemen. So,
Lights and siren.
anyway, we are looking to do, we've done upgrades, as you know, to the supervisor's room, up right under the chair. Supervisor's room upstairs, and obviously we've had upgrades to this room as well. So we're looking to do similar upgrades to the multi-purpose room. This will include a removal of the outdated projector and projection screen, installation of new cameras, improved sound and voice systems, installation of a large screen monitor, among other upgrades in the attached proposal. Funding for this will also come out of the public education and government account, which is funded by cable television franchise fees pursuant to state law. I think we have a fairly healthy fund balance in that.
Yes, we do.
About 1-point-something million, I think. So we are going to be taking money out of that account. This room is also used frequently by first responders and also serves as our emergency management headquarters. It is a hardened room. It is allegedly tornado-proof. I don't know about other weapons of mass destruction or anything like that, but it is also our emergency operations center, and it would be, I think that both our new chiefs would like to start making better use of that. In the event of an emergency, that we would have like a tabletop exercise at least and start to better integrate our operations with the new technology that we hope to have in this room. So that's about it. That's all I have.
Would you guys, it would be better if you use the fire department or police department style capital appropriation document, which is so good.
Yeah, well,
So who did you quote other than this company?
We quoted 2 other companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could have put that in that little sheet. It asked you to do
exactly.
that.
well, gee,
It would be helpful.
yeah.
And these people have been working on the other 2 systems, and it's going to be tied together, and so we thought it would work very well that way. And this, of course, helps out with the accreditation for the police department, having that type of emergency system all set up.
Can the old equipment be repurposed?
Well, we are repurposing a lot of the
Speakers.
the cabinets, a lot of the cabinetry that we're going to be using. So it's not a total rebuild, but in some of the cases, the technology is just totally outdated at this point. I mean, 2006 was
What do you have, an Ethernet?
a long time ago. Yeah. So it's we have to get with the times here.
What about sound quality in the room, reverberation? Is it okay?
It's okay for now, but I think it needs to be upgraded since we're installing monitors and better cameras and things like that.
So what do you,
There is a sound system already in place. It looks good, but we have not, I haven't seen it tested yet. So that's one of the things that they would have to.
With the new
they would have to
equipment,
look
how's
at
it
with
going
the
to
new
work?
equipment.
so tell me about this company. Have we used them before?
Yes,
And why
they
did we
do.
select them?
They did the system here and did a very good job. As a matter of fact, came in a few $1,000s under their proposal. And then they're also going to be doing up in the supervisor's office for the connectivity between here and our Comcast and WOW systems.
They're doing something else, you said?
Yes, it's a upgrade in software, I think.
Oh, that's different. That's to upgrade our ability to broadcast messages on the cable channels.
The cable channel.
Right now, the system that we have is not user-friendly at all and is also outdated to some extent. But that's a different.
That's different than this.
Different project.
Character-based messages,
Yeah, it's more of a digital format and it's got to be easier to use.
like a banner
'cause-
kind of thing.
Well, yeah, but more than that, better graphics, better, yeah, we really need the ability to have it a more user-friendly, faster system that can be done on more effectively on a computer. I'm not a techie guy, but, we know what we need, but I can't necessarily explain it. But it's magic, yeah.
It is.
This is a better system.
What is the start time and end date?
Well, we think that he's not going to start, he's already done a lot of work just to see what our needs are, but obviously that room right now is under lockdown for the election. I don't know if there'll be any time he can get in there between the primary and the
No.
general. So you're looking at probably
After November.
after November, but he's got to purchase the equipment, there's a lot of lead time, there's supply chain issues, so.
Yeah, he's already said that
He's gotta
he'll
get
be
working.
lucky to get some things by the end of the year.
Yeah, he did say that.
So, Mr.
Okay,
Supervisor,
yes, sir.
It is your recommendation, Clerk Borba's,
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Professional recommendation.
Professional recommendation, I so move.
Okay, you got to read it.
The move motion.
I move that Plymouth Township Board of Trustees authorize Fallner Electronic Laboratories, DBA Telesystems, to proceed with the technology improvements listed in the attached quote in an amount not to exceed $72,000. Said funding to come from the PEG fund account 101-101-859-000 communications dash qualifying PEG expenditures.
Motion's made by trustee Stewart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Treasurer Dorchevitz. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next is item F3. This is the cluster housing option for the Purcell property. You may recall back in May of 2021, The board approved this by a 5-2 vote. The nays were Kermey and Clinton. What we have before us tonight is the approval of the condominium, the actual cluster housing agreement, which has been developed by the developers and also our attorney and Laura. And we also have the PUD, and then we've got the condominium bylaws for the Purcell Place condominium. So this is the the old Purcell, Congressman Purcell's house on 46-200 North Territorial, 5.23 acres. The Planning Commission also approved they will be seeking the $20,000 to the Historic District Commission. The developer has not cut that check yet because he's not going to do it until everything is all signed and sealed here by us. But that $20,000 will go to the township for a future historic project, more than likely a plaque or a signage of some sort that will memorialize the site as a Plymouth Township historic site. We're not going to, I don't believe we're going to seek any kind of state designation unless you want to pursue that, but I don't know if it's going to rise to that level. But we can certainly do our own honoraria at that site.
So this is handed out at closing whenever a transaction happens on the properties, somebody's house there.
They would all be bound by it, correct, Laura?
The master deed and the bylaws, there would be an HOA that would govern these 8 properties.
So at closing, the people would get a copy of this.
Yes.
This is where a lot of people are confused. They think they have a single-family home on a
Yes,
platted
right.
subdivision,
Yeah,
and they never believe that they essentially have a site condo.
yeah, exactly.
Well, hopefully they can read it before they purchase the
Most
property.
people don't. That's why I live in, I'm not in a condo. They are.
Okay, any other questions for Laura? Laura's here tonight, obviously, so, okay. I move to adopt Resolution 2022-07-12-43, authorizing approval of the Purcell Place Cluster Housing Development and Agreement as recommended by the Planning Commission and contingent upon final approval of all legal documents by the Township Attorney. Is there a second?
Second.
You do wish to spell Purcell, P-U-R-S-E-L-L.
Well, we will spell it the most correct possible.
That's the way his name was
I've
spelled.
seen it several ways now, so.
Well, his name was,
Well,
I
the
know,
man
I know,
only should
I
have
know.
one
okay,
name.
all right, all right.
I know.
All right.
We will
Developer's misspelling his name.
Purcell. That's how they have it on their documents.
They do?
Well, his
Carl
Carl
Purcell.
Purcell, Congressman, was S-E-L-L.
Yeah, I always thought so as well, so.
He was one of the reasons I moved here
Maybe
37 years ago.
maybe they've got a mistake that they need to fix.
Exactly.
Because you don't want them to use the
Okay.
wrong spelling.
They can fix that.
Second the
So,
motion.
Okay,
second.
so you seconded, Jerry, so.
So why would we,
Trustee Stewart,
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey,
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz,
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes,
Trustee Kermey.
before I vote, this has to be subject, you need to add subject to the,
I did.
You did.
It's
oh,
in
you
there.
did, okay.
It's in the motion.
Okay, it's not in the words, all right.
No, I'm.
Yes,
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes, motion carries.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you very much. Item G, public comment. Going once, going twice. Awesome. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question.
Come on down.
You know, I'm having trouble walking.
Okay, well.
well, wait a
I'll
minute,
try to-
let's take one of those over to her, please. No,
We can hear you. I don't think anybody else, maybe on TV, can hear you.
Thank you. My question is regarding the grocery store that is proposed to go in next to Ellen.
Yes.
is that on?
I hear it.
It's green. It's supposed to be green.
Supposed to be green. Oh, it's
No, it's supposed to
red?
be green.
Press the button.
Press the button.
Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
much
Yeah,
faster.
there you are.
My question is about the grocery store that's going in next to LA Fitness. Few meetings back, you indicated that you were calling it something like the Mendel grocery store, but it's a fake title.
Yes.
And people in my community would like to know the actual name of the grocery store. Is there a reason why people in the community can't know?
Well, it's because of the corporation who is behind the project values secrecy, corporate secrecy, and they do not want to have their competitors know that they may be coming into the community. And it's not a done deal yet. We have new issues come up every day that we have to address. But it's a corporate decision by the company, and they use this name in some of their other properties around southeast Michigan as well. But their plans are on file here in the building department, and if you'd like to see them, we'll be happy to show them to you.
Is the name of, the true name of it on what people
No,
were doing?
they still use the name Mendel on all
Okay.
of their documents.
Solve your problem, take that name, Mendel Grocery Store, Google it, and it'll tell you exactly who the parent company is.
Thank you, Mr. Kermy. I will do that and let people know. Thank you.
Okay. Again, no guarantee that they're coming in, so I don't want to raise expectations either. Okay, everybody else is all set, so let's go around the horn and start with Trustee Bulkley. All set?
Yeah, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, John Stewart.
Well, I want to take the opportunity, the relevance of Holland, Michigan to the Plymouth Township area. And we were there for a tulip time parade, and 43 people from this area went over there. I appeared in front of the city council last Wednesday night. The mayor, it's a city manager. The population's 35,000. It's in the fastest growing and only really significantly growing county in Michigan. Ottawa County, which has experienced more than 2,000 people moving into 35,000, the city of Holland, Michigan. The two issues that I wanted to mention, we started the meeting at 6 o'clock and we began with prayer from the city manager. Quite a Christian Reformed community, but I'm well acquainted with that. My family's had a centennial home there at 13th and College since 1916. The two issues that I wanted to raise were for the parade there on May 14. We had state police helicopters, Ottawa County Sheriff's, Homeland Security, Holland City Police at every corner, 100,000 people in attendance. We felt very safe. I'm positive, knowing your respect for professionalism, Chief Nitel, that you would have been envious with that kind of protection. And it's a community not much, very similar in population to the city and township of Plymouth. So the security and the safety was one issue that I wanted to mention. The second one is economic development. The second largest EV battery plant in the country is opening in Holland. They looked at the labor force and the technical skills of the workforce. And I would hope that you, Mr. Supervisor, because I mentioned you, to Mayor Nathan Box, a lawyer of 30 years, Nathan Box, B-O-C-K-S, a native Dutchman, attorney, as I said. And I think there could be much to be shared on the growth and development of economic development. So I would hope we would not look at this as an east-west divide in our state, but rather what we could learn and what we could share with a very well-run city only 2.5 hours away. So I'm very sincere about you, Mr. Supervisor, meeting at some time with Nathan Box. He just might be a soul brother of yours. So I'm hoping that we can, blessed be the tie that binds between Plymouth Township and the city of Plymouth and Holland, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Okay, Jerry Vorva, you've been busy on election stuff. Huh?
Yeah, busy, real busy on election stuff. We've sent out over 5,700 ballots. We have received about 1,500 back now, so it's a little bit less than 30%. So I employ all of the citizens who have received a ballot to hurry up and get those back in. If you wait late and you wait to the last week to get those back in, it puts a lot of pressure on the staff here to get those things processed and ready to count. The ballot is very short. I think it'll only take about a minute or two to do that, and then drop it off here at the Township Hall, put it in the drop box outside, which is monitored by our police department 24/7, or you can mail it back in. But please get it back in here so we're not rushed at the end of the election cycle here to do that. We also had our election commission meeting today, where we set all of the workers for the election inspections and how we set up all of the AV counting board and such for each one of the precincts. And we also had the accuracy test today. The accuracy test was fine. There was a little glitch coming from the county in which some of the programmed for precincts 1 through 4 was sent to the city of Plymouth for their 1 through 4, and their 1 through 4 programming was sent here. And it was just a mix-up. It's just a human error. There's no problem with anything. They're bringing out the new stuff in the next few days, and just to test those precinct tabulators. So it was just a human error thing. It's not a problem. The accuracy test proved that the ones that were done properly worked just fine. So that will be taken care of. And so everything else is going well. But please, you can still get an absentee ballot. Come in, mail in your application. We'll get a ballot out to you. But those of you who have your ballots out there, so we have 3,500 of them sitting out there, get them back into us so that we can process those and the people are not overworked on that last week. So thank you very much.
Okay. Trustee Monahan.
Bob, I just wanted to say thank you for the amazing job you've been doing as a treasurer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You've been giving us, detailed reports, keeping us, trying to keep us informed, even though some of us don't like looking at a bunch of numbers, but it makes sense. And so I thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Kermy.
Will you review in your talk what our schedule is for this month? And I think we're only having one meeting, maybe next month.
I'll attack that.
All right, that's it.
Okay. So next time we meet on July 26th. We'll have the Watua budget presentation. We have 2 public hearings, one for the courthouse grill brownfield plan, one for what I'm calling Signet 2 brownfield plan. Signet 2 is that building that burned down on General Drive a couple years ago. And what were they, Chief Conley? What went on in that building?
Machine shop.
Yeah, but it was a very high-end metal machine shop. I mean, a very high-tech, and so when it burned, I think there were a lot of stuff got in the ground, and the building itself had to be rehabilitated, and there was contamination as a result of the processes that went on in that building. So it does qualify as a brownfield. Signet already has an operation across the street. They're growing. They do a great job. They've got at least 100 employees in that building, so they're looking to expand. And we all know what the courthouse grill project is. That's all I have right now for July 26th. August 9th, we will not have a meeting because of the election. This room will still be election central as you guys count ballots and things like that. Hopefully you're not counting ballots on August 9th.
No, we'll be done. We'll be done.
You'll
Just
be
cleaning up the process.
Verifying everything, okay. August 23rd, still a ways off. I'd like to have the GFL contract at that point. We may want to bring back the issue of the smart meter for water billing. We also have a rezoning appeal by Mr. Leo Gonzalez at the McClumpha Ann Arbor Road, the northwest corner of McClumpha and Ann Arbor Road across from the funeral home there. He was He was denied by the Planning Commission, so he would like to appeal that, which he has the right to do, to the Board of Trustees. And then once we get into September, then we'll be looking at budgets. And then we're going to be revisiting a couple other things like the Elks Lodge project and possibly the Northridge housing project as well, maybe making a comeback. So I believe, Laura, next Wednesday on the Planning Commission agenda, the PUD for the Elks Lodge project will be coming back?
Correct, the tentative site plan.
Tentative site plan, okay, so they've pretty much incorporated all, I mean, I don't want to, it's my understanding that they have achieved most of the changes that we were looking for at the last meeting.
They've made improvements to the traffic, for traffic calming,
Okay.
correct?
But ultimately, we're going to leave that to the Planning Commission. Anything else at the Planning Commission agenda next Wednesday, or is that it?
Excuse me, there's the Roots Montessori.
Right.
Special land use, that would be right south of St. John's, off of Sheldon.
Yeah. If you know, there's where the Hilton Gardens is on Sheldon Road, there are about 3 office buildings that are behind it that are parallel to M14. This would be the last of the office buildings in that set. There is an organization called Roots Montessori. They are currently based in the city of Plymouth at the Lutheran Church, and they are looking to expand. So they would like to acquire that building and put in about 130 kids. So that'll be in front of the Planning Commission as well.
I would
Yes,
like
sir.
to ask you to inform us, enlighten us about the ramifications of the recently approved state budget. And I'm referring to the statutory and constitutional increase in revenue sharing. I'm referring to, I don't know if Chief Nytel knows, but there's going to be 50 new state troopers and where they will be assigned to. Neil Sheridan of Michigan Township Association did a really wonderful job with a meticulous summary. I'd like you to reflect on that and to educate and inform us.
Well, I mean, I did, as board members, I did send you the information when it came over from the Conference of Western Wayne, because they break it down for our local communities. Obviously, revenue sharing is going to be going up. Certainly no cuts that we're aware of. The unfortunate thing is that we're not getting any money for MITC as far as I can tell. If we do, I think it'll be about $500,000. And unfortunately, Mr. Shostak in Salem Township is getting $15 million of taxpayer money that I assume will be used towards his sewer project.
Is there any chance of a governor's line item veto?
I don't believe so, no.
This governor has agreed to that?
Well, I think what she probably said was, hey, there's all this pork in here, everybody's getting a piece of pork, so I'm not going to create a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure all her.
There's $1 billion.
I mean, I agree with Chuck. I mean, you have $2 million for a curling venue
Traverse
in
City.
Traverse City. You have, all sorts of money that's being thrown around.
It's an
for
embarrassment,
nothing, so.
lethargy.
So, I mean, rather than a tax cut, which is what we really need from the state of Michigan, they're spending it on pork projects, and it's bipartisan. They're all doing it, but we have to be worried about what's happening in Salem Township because the township does not want the money. The legislators who represent Salem did not ask for the money. I don't know who Mr. Shostak's lobbyist is, but
They're good.
My hat's off to him because he's done a good job again, getting his client a lot of money, and we just have to be on
Let's
guard
hire
that he doesn't drop a wastewater treatment plant across the street from Plymouth Township.
Say, oh, shit.
I guess.
10 minutes at the next meeting, please, wax and wane.
Well, I mean, I could wax and wane all night, but it's not, I try to share as much information with you as I can. Through,
Well, and
through
I
the
read
internet.
it, but then I just want the impact of that.
Yeah.
And
Does that come
you're
from,
taking off the table a governor's line item veto of the Shostak money.
I'm not, but I mean, I would veto it if I had the chance, but,
Oh, I know you
I
would.
think it's going to stick around, because of, as Chuck said, there's log rolling going on, and this
Yeah.
is a classic case of log rolling that you hear about in high school.
What, 1 billion in pork?
I thought it was
least.
like 600 million.
At
It's
least.
1 billion?
Right, 600 million, right?
So,
right.
I think the impression here that needs enlightenment is the fact that it's disparate how it's being, given out. And some communities are getting more than others for really incredulous things. And I was reading that myself, and I thought to myself, there's some more important agenda items that communities could really use that money for in a time like this than to spend it on some of the line items that they've got to spend the money on.
Well, nobody seems to be talking about the administration and the fiscal responsibility of this avalanche of money.
That's right. It's,
I mean,
well,
you use
if it's bipartisan, who's going to
Bipartisan,
talk about it? Why would they talk about it?
The ship came in.
They just wanted to
Sailors
go
are
underneath?
drinking and
No,
spending.
let's just put it underneath, and no one will notice, no one will be where for the wiser, until finally one day someone realizes there's all this money that has been given out to some of these really insignificant causes.
John, does MTA have a news wire they put out once a day or once a week that you can sign up to? Is that what you're looking at?
I mean, we should all be
Michigan,
on it.
yeah, that's why I don't recall getting it, and I'm signed up at MTA.
Oh, I didn't get
So
it.
maybe we need to do something different.
I get it at least once a month.
I get something from MTA almost once a week.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't, Kurt,
Updates and
you
stuff.
update us.
And we also
I
get
get
them from
daily.
CWW.
Without being excessively political, I do appreciate your insight, and I'm a little disappointed that it doesn't appear like there's a governor's line item veto for the Showstack money.
I don't think it's.
For any of the money.
Call your legislator, I guess.
Real quick, Mr. Supervisor.
Yes, sir.
Again, I just wanted to thank Trustee Kermy and Trustee Stewart for their work today on the election commission, to come in and watch to see how the process works. So a big thank you to them.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
By Stewart, second.
Second.
Second by Clerk Gordon. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 8:01.